Welcome to the BleedRedblacks Podcast with your hosts Mike, Colin, Jeanine, and Santino. Produced by Mark and Johnny Z. BleedRedblacks starts now.
Hey, welcome to BleedRedblacks Season 3, Episode 17. We got the OG crew back in the South Keys for the first time in, feels like a while.
Weeks.
A month or something?
Yeah.
A long time. So there's your...
You've changed, man. I don't even recognize you anymore.
I know. I have a button-up shirt on and Mike has a hipster sweater on. This is
Well, that's not
epic.
That's not different. What's different about that, man?
Yeah, so there you go. Season ticket handler Mike is back in his familiar seat. Did anyone dent this seat last week? Was there a bum dent in here?
Maybe.
To be determined.
Yeah, no photographic evidence.
That's
that I sat
okay.
in your seat.
It was still warm when I sat down on it, so that's always a good sign, right? And Jeanine's back as well. Good to see you, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. There's no wine here. I don't know what to do without any wine and
Trust me,
pasta.
and there's definitely wine at Mark's house somewhere. If I know Mark. Come on, Mark. What's wrong, buddy? Coffee's great, but you know what Jeanine needs. Feed her. She's shaking. Those notes are... You might have to hold that for her.
There's a random cocktail under the table if you want to give it a shot.
Oh, man. That's... Well, I'd save that. Wow. Yeah, so we're back, and it's great to see you guys. Mike did an awesome job last week. Enjoyed listening to your show with Keenan. Thanks for Keenan for coming in. That was pretty cool. Always nice to hear new people on the show, for sure. Also, while I'm at it, thanks to AJ and the Lumberjoes for filling in. Mark for stepping up the one day. It was fun and was a lot of work to get through it, but whatever. In hindsight, it was totally worth it, and hopefully everyone enjoyed themselves. Janine's got glasses on today. She looks very, serious.
Like a librarian?
Studious.
Yeah, that's right. And I know if you look at me over them that you're not impressed. So I'll save the... I was trying to make up jokes earlier and it was bombing.
If you bring out the dill pickle vodka, I'll look over the glasses.
Well,
at
unfortunately, Mark ordered another bottle from a buddy. We're thinking about just making our own, just by mixing some pickle juice with Smirnoff. I think the thing is, I think that's probably all they do in Regina as well. They just call it organic, but meanwhile, it's just
It's a bunch of President's Choice dill pickle juice just poured into a bunch of dirty barrel vodka.
There's no coincidence. It was adjacent to the deep fried dill pickle stand, right? So I think
no
onto them. We're onto them. So I wasn't able to watch the game. I tried to follow it a bit online, but you know how well that works. But the Red Blacks played awesome against Winnipeg last week in Winnipeg. Defense came to play, and I know, Mike, that's the kind of football that you like. So
I sat down here last week calling everybody out. That guy's not going to be here next year if he keeps playing like that. What's Canade do? He runs out there and plays the game of his life. So just totally impressed again with the play of the defensive side of the Red Blacks, and I'm hoping that was part of my point last week is this team has to start trending up, and that game was important, and it was a key game for them to trend in the right direction. So they don't have to do anything this week. Just hang out.
Yeah.
Don't get banged up.
Take care of one another out there.
By the way, Mr. Abdul Kane, just make sure when you're throwing these hits, these I don't even know what you call them. It's almost like watching old Superfly Snuka videos, from the WWF, where he's just flying at players out of nowhere and ends up putting more of a dent than our own defensive players. So just calm down with that. Just play a little touch flag football this week and let Winnipeg run up the score. Who cares?
Yeah. It was great to see them play the way they did last week. I was able to, after missing the 3 games before that, I was really looking forward to sitting down on Saturday afternoon and watching this game, and finally I think they took 2 penalties all game, and that's the first time we've seen them play so disciplined. Little disappointed that they got 5 or 6 turnovers and only scored 8 points off of that many turnovers, so there's still room to improve, but that's what they can work on. That's what they can work on their way to the Eastern playoff. Keep everybody safe this week, and take a look at what we got in Brock Jensen.
Yeah, for the first time, I felt like they snuffed out the middle of the field for the opposition, and it seemed like they were forcing a lot of balls deeper into the pocket area where our defenders were there to make plays, and not only make plays on the ball, but make plays on the receivers and force not only fumbles but force quick tackles. And I just felt like overall it was an absolutely 100% turnaround for them on defense. So take that videotape, guys, go back, rewatch it on your iPads when you're flying around, and grow from there.
Yeah.
They got an old beta machine somewhere in the bowels of Lansdowne. I know they do.
Yeah.
Somewhere.
Taped over a couple old Beetlejuice cartoons or something. It's just,
cartoons.
you know what I mean? Just anything.
They just stopped short before Animaniacs out, though. You can't tape over Animaniacs.
Can't tape
Everybody
over.
knows that.
So
Game 7 World Series, it's
Mike's
It's
rocking the
upon us.
Cubbies shirt.
It's
Mike's
upon
rocking
us.
the Cubbies shirt.
yeah, it's I'm excited because historically Chicago needs this for baseball. For me, anyways, I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for parity and the MLB for sure. So that's why when you see teams like Chicago there, I know Cleveland wins. It'd be great for Cleveland as well. But come on, Chicago's due. There's a lot of people there waiting for this, and Chicago's just a great city for baseball.
The
So.
intriguing thing about it is it's going to be a huge story regardless.
Yep.
Even if you're not a huge baseball fan, if you're a sports fan, I think you have to watch the game.
Well, you can't ask for a better
win or lose, it's
situation.
going to be the biggest
Yeah.
story, obviously.
You've
And-
got two fan bases that have, historically not had a lot to cheer for.
Mm-hmm.
You've got the Cubbies who forced it to Game 7, and man, they came out hungry last night, and it was great first 3 innings to watch. This is a game for the history books. You got to watch it tonight.
And I mean, I know we love Charlie Sheen's winning song, but enough with the Wild Thing stuff. And we get it. You were once in a movie that was relevant, and we get it. Your character was cool. But let's just leave this up to the real ball players, all right? Looking at you, Tim Tebow.
Yeah.
Heard he broke his face sliding in a second or something.
Yeah.
Amazing.
The great story for me that comes out of Chicago, win or lose, is just the job that Madden's done there over the last year.
Oh, yeah.
A great quick story. Washington Capitals were in Chicago late last year, late at the season, and the Capitals players were talking about just how the Cubs were in Washington when the Capitals were somewhere. They're on the road, and the Capitals talked about just how loosey-goosey the players were doing the costume stuff that Madden had them doing, like dressing up in crazy suits and doing short days and just having a lot of fun. And I would be curious to know if CFL coaches do any of the same team building that you see, and definitely in MLB, because you're on the road 162 games, right?
Yeah.
You gotta live with these guys.
And I mean, even the closest of chums know that even a weekend away with someone can, you want to chuck the knuckles with them. So
Yeah.
these guys staying in tents, 2 days off a month. It's funny. I was overseas last week and trying to describe to these people what baseball's about, and telling them they only get 2 days off a month, and they just couldn't believe this 162 game schedule. It's legit. The game's so complicated. There's so many moving parts. You need those games for the cream to rise to the top, and very rarely does a poor team move on, and that's why we see amazing premier baseball every playoffs, and it's pretty awesome to watch. And I'm glad that for those baseball purists, they're really getting a series that they can enjoy. And,
That's how I feel.
I mean, and they're not the only people from Chicago who are happy that they're getting a new barn next year. I don't know if you saw, but the sponsors' logo's like an arrow down, and they were fighting. We can't put that in the side of our barn. And they're like, yeah, it's already on there. So next time you go to the new, I don't know if it's called the new Comiskey. It's called the new lowest insurance price ever stadium or something, but having a new barn with a downward arrow,
that's a little
signs
strange.
of times. Yeah,
it'd be like if TD Place was just a downward arrow. That wouldn't be good.
The artist formerly known as Prince. Come on, guys.
There you go.
Symbols
Yeah,
are very avant-garde.
Well, I mean, apparently the TD is too intrusive to the glebe, though.
Yeah.
So maybe that could have been perfect cursive TD,
Maybe.
something a little more palatable.
Maybe it could have just been in Braille, and then nobody would know it. Unless
Well,
you
no one from
actually
the glebe would
touched
ever
it.
get close enough to touch it, right?
That's
But
right.
We'd be relying on cranky Frank Clare to tell us what it says, and he'd probably just tell us to go.
By the way, I'm not him. I've been asked that several times. It's awesome.
Really?
I was actually quite. I got an email. I got a DM in my Twitter box asking me if I was Frank.
You're not even that grumpy.
No,
right?
I'm not. I have been in the past.
Sure, but not every day.
Not
right?
every day.
Yeah, you still see the sunshine some days.
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes.
I
when
mean,
my
you're not
meds
a
are
rusting
working.
bronze statue either. So
When my meds are working, absolutely.
yeah.
So,
But with that being said, I know for a fact a fedora would complement your outfit.
I think so.
Perfectly.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, I don't care about Halloween. I was going to talk about it, but whatever. Once again, thanks to everyone who helps out when the people are gone. We do a lot of work down here, and these guys are awesome. So when people fill in for me, it makes me really happy. And yeah, it's great to have you guys back. So,
and I listened to all of the episodes while I was away. So on my little bus rides between wineries. So I just want to say to AJ and Keenan and to Ken, you guys did great, and it was really nice to still have that connection to home and to this podcast, and that people wanted to step up. It was really. I took you all with me to Italy for little parts of the trip.
the part of the trip where that dog was digging out the truffle.
Yeah, that's right. The truffle hunting dog. I'm in love with the truffle hunting
In
dog.
Ireland, they say onion is the truffle of the poor. So, FYI, I had a lot of onions when I was in Ireland. All right, let's go to a little break. We're just gonna have a quick roundtable discussion. That's it. It's gonna be a quick and dirty one this week, and but here we are. Let's see if we can get this done.
They can't take it away. If you got something to say, they might try to let you in, but you only gotta learn to win.
Well, it's nice to see you guys again. I figured it'd be a great time for a chat. We have
Chats are
coffee.
good.
We have veggies and dip. We have some Walker's crisps
We
that
have
everyone's
weird
avoiding.
chips from the UK.
Like, who thinks that putting a mayo container on the front of a chip bag is something that's desirable? I don't know, but
All right. We better mayo have some crisps.
there you go. Well, help yourself. They're in my carry-on. If you find one bigger than a dime, I'll give you $20. So this week we got a game coming up against Winnipeg. It doesn't mean anything, let's be honest. It's a good time to showcase players. Same thing kind of happened for Calgary last week in Montreal. They didn't start Bo Levi. They decided that the team records don't matter, and that I agree with them. What they did was right. Sure, Bo Levi won't be playing for 29 days, but for all we know, he's banged up. And anyways,
He could be in the ice bucket for all the 29 days,
Yeah.
right?
sure, yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah. He could be trying on new jeans. But honestly, this week for us is another one of those games. So how do you think we should approach a game that's, I don't want to say meaningless. That's not fair. But that isn't as impactful. Let's say it's an exhibition at the end of the game, almost.
Yeah.
End of the season, sorry.
Well, that's kind of how it's being treated. And maybe I'll just go back to Calgary first for a second and say that, there's some people that were really disappointed that Calgary didn't go for the record. I'm not one of them. Nobody gives a shit about their record. You know what they give a shit about? A Grey Cup ring. Yeah. So if they had played Bo Levi Mitchell and he had gotten roughed up and hurt and taken out of contention for the playoffs, then fans would have been really, really upset. So the record, to me, it's nice, but it's frankly quite meaningless. I think Calgary did the right thing. I think Calgary might have thought they still wouldn't get shellacked by Montreal, even by not playing their starters, but it is what it is, and the record's not important. I feel exactly the same way about the Red Blacks. We're going to be, a 500 team if we lose this?
Exactly.
This game, but I don't care about that. I don't care that our record last year was better. I care that we got a bye all the way to the Eastern Final. I want our two premier quarterbacks to be healthy for that. I'm not, as a fan, terribly excited about the game on Friday. I'm going to go. I'm not terribly excited about it, but I think it's the right thing to do. And I think people that really love this sport and really want to see this team succeed in the playoffs are going to understand that.
Yeah, I had a hard time with definitely heading out to social media and reading the comments. Fans asking the team to start the elite players for their own personal reasons. I was just, my comment said it all. I thought it was a joke, April Fool's joke that a fan was asking for this. I come from a background watching a lot of NFL over the years. We know by the time week 13 comes, some teams just put it right in neutral.
Ever heard of Matt Flynn? Week 17 a few years ago, he had one of the best games ever. signed a huge contract and he's never been back.
Yeah.
So it is fun, right? But people's careers have been made in those games, and it's interesting to see who will step up. It could be a way for a guy who's a bench warmer to find a gig next year, or for a guy to maybe keep his job next year.
This is a game of ownership. At the end of the day, owners want to win championships.
Yes.
General managers want to win championships, and I know that the players want to win championships. Every player on that field is an asset. At the end of the day, that asset, the goal of those players as assets is to win a championship. If you have a chance to rest those assets and put them on the bench and let them cool down for 29 days like Bo Levi, I have no problem with that, because we all know Bo Levi has got the skill set to come back after 29 days.
Well, and that was going to be my question. I think the only thing that would make me nervous, maybe if it wasn't Bo Levi, but the only thing that might make you a little bit nervous is, does 29 days off kind of mess a little bit with your momentum? So Henry will be off, I guess, then.
Maybe not
it'll be about
maybe
14
20,
or
whatever,
maybe 21 or whatever
Yeah,
it will
3 weeks,
end
I
up
think.
being. Does it mess with his momentum a little bit? I think that's a legit question to ask, but I don't think it overshadows the fact that you want to make... Mike Riley 3 years ago ended up getting hurt in garbage time in like week 19 because Chris Jones, for some stupid reason, wouldn't pull him out when the Eskimos had already won the game. And he buggered up his ankle, and he wasn't able to finish the playoff game, and the Eskimos didn't make it that year. The Stamps did. You don't want to see that happen.
Yep.
And I think that outweighs whatever rust. Everybody's going to be nervous no matter what in a final game. So there's going to be jitters, rust, same thing. You get over it in the first few minutes, or you don't.
And as a fan, I think you should be excited to see some of these guys play. Let's see what we got back there. We know what we have with Harris. Let's talk about quarterbacks specifically. We know what we have with Harris and with Henry Burris, and let's see what Jensen has. Let's see what Daniel has. I mean, I think to be disappointed in that, sure, it may not be as exciting, but you're still going to watch guys play, and you're there to cheer on your team. And people want to knock our nation about being kind of fair weather, or our nation kind of being up and down, kind of yo-yo fans. You got to go support the team. It's the jersey you're cheering for, Mike. You said that all along.
Yeah,
You're cheering for the jersey.
Yep.
You're not, especially in this league. And it's fun. One thing that was brought up to me was meeting some football fans in the UK. They were like, "What the hell are people thinking when they wear jerseys without numbers or names on it?" Like, we always see Canadian fans doing that, and that's not an NFL thing at all.
Nope.
And I'm like, because that's not what it's about. It's about the logo on the front.
Yep.
And there's no other way to emphasize that. The turnover is so high. 20 years from now, pretty sure Jamil Smith won't still be returning kicks. We're going to have to, find someone else to cheer for.
Exactly. I have no problem putting Smith on my jersey. That's easy.
No jersey foul. Though.
No
You can always
jersey.
say, hey,
it's me. It's me. But I got 2 questions. Number 1, we might have to give Daniel O'Brien instructions on how to get to the field. Number 1. And number 2, it goes. Let's ask the question: does it go to play calling next week? And are you going as a team? Are you preparing? Are you allowing these guys to throw normal plays out there, or are you going to design plays specifically for their skill set? I was curious about that. What would you think?
I would think whether you're playing your starters or your bench warmer team, your goal is still to win. The
So
Red
many air
Blacks are
quotes
still,
going around down
yeah,
here,
you
man.
can't see this, guys,
the
but
breeze
I'm
actually feels
I'm
great.
air quoting.
It is
I'm air
boiling
quoting.
down here.
Let's get the air
Look
quotes.
like Al Bundy down here.
It doesn't matter who you're playing. The goal and the Red Blacks on that field, they're still gonna be hungry for a win. Okay, so let's get that out of the way. It doesn't matter that Jensen's getting the start. Jensen's just as hungry as Burris is, which is why I think the right thing for the coaches to do is to call plays to their skill set, because they do still want to win. Like, it's not that they want to lose; they're not going to actively try to lose. And it is kind of fun to play spoiler to a team that's fighting to not
Big
be the
time.
crossover team right now, right? So there is some actual reasons for Ottawa to really want to come out hard. So I think the coaches should be calling the game to the skill set of the players that they're dressing for this one.
I agree with you. I also think it's important that you're playing guys who are healthy. Very healthy. I think if you get guys in there who are nursing something and they're not playing at 100%, that's when people get hurt.
Yep.
And when guys aren't going full out, that's when injuries happen. And it's a great time, like you said, fill the tub with ice and invite them all in there. You know, there's room for all of you boys.
Yeah.
And goo. That's the anyway. So
I could make a comment
Sorry,
now, but I'm not gonna.
that visual just Janine's like room for one more.
Oh my.
Okay.
Oh my.
It's getting hot in here.
No, it is. I had to blow that candle out. It's vicious. But honestly, though, like I think it's important to play those guys who are hungry to be in there, and injuries would be the worst, and that's even why it's more important. I mean, the risk analysis says when you have nothing to gain, like why would you ever risk any of your equity in any circumstance? Like there's zero reason for it aside from unless you're a position who could like. Except for maybe like Milo or someone, a punter or a kicker, basically, who needs to work some of the rust off. I can't really see why you'd put anyone in there who's not 100%.
Yeah, and I gotta say I enjoyed watching Jensen play when he replaced Harris in the game that we narrowly lost in Saskatchewan. He held his own in there, and I've been hoping for him to be successful ever since that game, and I think this is a great chance for him to get back out there, and we should be supportive of whoever's on that field, and we should all keep in mind that this is being done so we can win a playoff game, but we still got to go out there. They're still going to be hungry. They're still going to need our noise.
Last one before we get off this topic. If you're at the game Friday night or you're watching it on TV as a Red Blacks fan, take special note of the type of game we're going to be watching, because we may see games like this in the near future. We've been riding a super awesome high, and we've been I feel blessed that we had a super awful first season, and some of that we're going to have a little bit of flashback, I think. And as a fan, you're going to be like, wow, this is some...
I was hoping I'd grown out of those.
Yeah, no, right? So this is... I mean that because this is a team that they're going to be out there trying to win, but the skill set will be off slightly.
Oh, yeah, it will be.
And it'll be tough to watch, but reminisce about what it was like season one, because that's what it was like the entire season.
There were 2 games that we won. Come on.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I had to sit down here week after week trying to be
you
positive.
won a game with 6 fucking field goals. Sweet. Wow. Remember that one. What the hell was I going to say? Anyways, it doesn't matter. But, that's what I was going to say. If you don't want to go to the game and you have tickets, please give them to someone who can't go to a game normally, couldn't afford to go to a game. Don't sell them. Don't keep them. Give them away to someone and let someone go in there who's really going to enjoy it. And I don't want to see any Kijiji ads or Facebook ads by season ticket holders. Give them away to a friend.
100%.
That's right.
Actually, I gotta throw a little plug in here on that topic. I renewed my season tickets for next year and my Grey Cup tickets for next year. And I didn't do it right away. I did it yesterday, and they gave me and the first 100 people yesterday that renewed their season tickets got 4 tickets to the game on Friday night. So I've gotten rid of 2. We gave them to somebody that my husband works with. His son is a place kicker for his high school football team, so we gave them 2 tickets.
Is he going to suit up? Or?
And I've got. we should throw him out there.
Need a ticket.
We should throw him out there. And I'm looking for 2 more people that like just really want to get out there and have fun and not being sold. They're being given away because I got 4 free tickets to the game. So if anybody out there, if you think you could bring your son or daughter or girlfriend or boyfriend to a game, just tweet me. I got 2 tickets.
Or just one guy who wants to just do some serious manspreading,
Or just if you're out there and you've got a son or a daughter that you want to bring to the game.
Hey now. All right, so
Need some words for the licorice.
Let's talk about something positive then.
Okay, so before we look at the list, I don't know if you guys have seen who the nominees or who was voted the Red Blacks most outstanding players and their award nominees. Did you guys see this today at all?
I saw it when you handed me the notes for the show.
Oh, you reviewed them? Yeah. Okay, well, let's just get right down to it. So our MOP as voted first ballot was Ernest Jackson.
No question.
I don't see how anyone can dispute that yet.
No doubt about it.
Yet our friend Jay Dunk said it was a huge oversight and that Chris Williams should have been the MOP because he had better stats. So it goes to show you who watches the games.
Can I jump in here?
I'm just telling you what Jay Dunk said.
I know, but I just got Jay Dunk. I'm sure you don't listen to a thing I say, but I'm going to say it anyway. That's ridiculous because all season long, Ernest Jackson has been Mr. Consistent. And he has been the only guy that has been dependable game in, game out. I love Chris Williams. We sat with him at dinner when we went to Saskatchewan last year. I love.
We talked about the Minions movies.
We talked about many things with Chris Williams. He's a lovely man.
Wow, man.
He had consistency problems, and the only reason his stats are higher than Ernest Jackson's is because he had his first 4 games were incredible, and then he tanked and he dropped balls all the rest of the season long. So I think it's ridiculous that anybody would say that it shouldn't be Ernest Jackson. Take that, J Dunk.
Boom.
Uncle Ernie, let me tell you. Uncle Ern.
The glue of the team, man. We've been saying.
We sat down here. He's the glue. This guy, the stats aren't there. They're out there somewhere. But the stats show that his target per catch is like 1-to-1 almost.
I don't think he has a drop
like,
this year. Yeah.
That's part of what he does. It's part of what he's always done in a... well, he was in BC, did the same thing. Like, he gets targeted, he catches balls, he comes. There was a play in the last game where he got hit so hard. And I thought he must have dropped that ball. No way. No. He held on to it somehow. And I go back to most outstanding player. You look at Ernest Jackson, you have to ask the question, if all your receivers in that group played like he did,
where would we be?
Where we wouldn't be a sub 500
We
team.
wouldn't be playing for the tie. That's for sure.
We wouldn't be playing for a damn tie.
No, exactly. Like, that is quite honestly the most ridiculous thing I have heard all season long.
We've already given him too much airtime.
We have.
He's loving this.
Son of a gun.
You got me all fired up. Holy shit.
Okay, so the next guy's an obvious guy too, right?
Yeah. Young Lion Damaso Munoz. He's been amazing for the last couple of years, and solid dude. Rides his bike down Laurie every morning, and he's survived the bike lane. So I mean, obviously he's got the visibility and he's got some foresight. You know,
he's driven over the tax.
Wasn't you putting the tax down there? Was it?
Maybe. Never know.
That's like a big news story when I was overseas. You know, taxing the bike lanes.
You're the one that lives
Fuck, I gotta get home. This city's falling apart without me.
But defensively, we go back to the term I used last week where we had some, there's just some passengers on this defensive line that I felt like are just going through the motions. He wasn't one of them this year. He seemed to step his game up and just continue to get better. Mm-hmm. So good on Munoz. I love it.
So top Canadian, no surprise, Brad Sinopoli. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt there. He had another solid season.
Got his 1,000 yards last game, and making it our 4 receivers again,
on a tough catch in the interior, I think too, right?
Well, and the yak, right? Like Brad, nobody racks up the yak like Brad does, and and it's not just his receiving capabilities. When you see him in pass protection, or when you see him like blocking out there, it's like he throws his big body into every play, whether he's the receiver whose number is called or whether he can help with a block or whatever it might be. He's great.
Yak yards.
I don't say yak yards.
On TSN they'll say, we know we're not supposed to, but everyone does, so we'll say yak yards. I'm like, no, that's not how it works.
Stop it at yak.
And Sinopoli's that same guy. If we had really hardcore stats on what his target numbers were versus catches, I think he's right up there as well.
He has dropped a couple.
But
I know because I wear a Sinopoli jersey, and everybody in my section lets me know when Brad drops a ball. But he's dropped a couple, but not as many as Chris Williams did. Just saying. And
another crazy thing about our wide receivers while we're on it is, they caught passes from 4 different quarterbacks this year. They went through a quarterback controversy, as I'll say. Sorry, too much BBC. But for real, he's not catching passes from the same dude every week. People have different spins, different velocities. So I think that's extra awesome that his stickiness factor is obviously the real deal, you know. Offensive lineman John Gott. I don't know anyone can really argue that. He's kind of
I think our guy Sir Vincent,
crutch of the team. Yeah,
Mr. Rogers would have been in the running if he would have stayed healthy. I think for sure.
Well, and that raises an interesting question. Like, how many games did Sir Vincent end up missing?
I think he's on his 4th now.
His 4th. Yeah. So I guess that raises the question: Can you put up a guy who ends up missing 5 games? I kind of think you can, but I don't know if everybody agrees with me. I still prefer Sir Vincent to John Gott as the candidate, but he has missed a lot of games this year. So,
which goes to our special teams guy as well.
Yeah.
So special teams.
That's true.
So Twitter account not JDunk2 said this was the hugest oversight that it wasn't Jamil Smith. He couldn't believe it. No, that's not me. Tristan Jackson was named the special teams player of the year for the Red Blacks. Very impactful when he came along, for sure. Can't argue that. Obviously, we have mad bias and we're homers, so fight for Jamil. I mean,
Yeah, man.
let's put him up there.
Fight.
Anyways,
It must have been. It must have
Jamal
been. A
lives
close
matter,
vote.
man.
obviously.
Jamal lives matter.
So like,
And rookie, I don't think this dude, he shimmied around all year. He's played on every position.
Yeah.
He'll be
Except quarterback.
He'll be punting next week. Jason Lazo-Seguin, he moved around a bunch, and he's good on him. It's nice to see a young Canadian guy that we drafted,
Right.
not only play for us, but actually do well and really contribute in a tough situation.
he's adding to his football IQ, which allows him later on to make sure he's in a great position for future contracts. I mean, whether he stays here or he moves along, good for him.
Well, speaking of which, this is Brock Jensen's last chance. He's a free
Yep.
agent. This is it for him.
100%. And that's
I
exactly
hope
why
he
I'm
lights
watching
it
the
up,
game.
Lights it up, and maybe he'll be the starter in Montreal next year. or
He's just
something.
all like making it rain, show me the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Him and Nick Lewis can just crush buffets or whatever if he winds up there. It'll be amazing. All right, so did you guys hear that BC signed the CFL dinosaur?
I love
He's
it.
back.
Love it.
That's amazing.
Love it. 46
better
years
him than the
old.
show Dinosaurs, though. You remember that train wreck that used to be on ABC many years ago?
Yeah.
Awful. What would football look like without kicking? Like, let's just think about that for a second. Is there any way it could work? Could you pull that off? Yeah, I guess
Handball.
So. Yeah.
It would look more like rugby, right? We'd have more of a, you said it before, sevens look, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm
obviously just being an idiot, but I just mean it seems like if this is the best there is, obviously it's brutally hard to kick a football accurately and not let the metagame and the pressure of the situation get to you. And these mentally strong kickers, I mean, I'm sure there's a guy in the States, NCAA, who can hit 75-yarders in practice, but it's when it counts. And
also,
obviously he's been there and he's reliable.
these guys come up here. It's a different ball. It's a different field.
Yeah.
It's a different feel.
For sure.
And the kicking game, I said it last week in studio, it's almost like if you're going to specialize in something right now and you're at a university as football, just start practicing kicking. And like you could probably find yourself a good job
Yeah,
because
you
it's a
did
great
say it.
spot. It's a great spot to be in. It goes back to football's a game of specialization right now. Especially, I got to go south of the border again. Look at how important the long snapper has become in the NFL. It is a career. And of course, we know that place kickers as well as punters in the NFL, if you play well, one of the richest guys that ever come out of the NFL was a former punter who spent 18 years punting the ball, making close to like $3 to $6 million on average a year.
And I guess as far as this career goes,
Yeah.
it's safer.
It's safer.
You're going to be able to still tie your shoes when you're 50.
That's
and you
right.
will know who you are when you're 52.
Exactly.
You won't have boxer's brain, right?
That's right. So it's a position that fascinates me because this year in the CFL, it seems as if special teams have been at the worst, which leads us sitting down here today asking the question, why not just play all three downs if your punter's that bad? You know, like just go ahead and just throw Hail Marys or something.
I guess. I don't know what the answer is, but...
I mean, I like those NFL teams that on third and like long, they drop Ben Roethlisberger back and he'll just punt the ball. You know, one of those trickery plays, right? Like you've seen it happen.
Sure.
And
yeah.
in NFL, it's a great play. I'd like to see more of that in the CFL. Just kind of long snap and just boot the ball.
Let's be honest. If the Eskimos won't even wear a mic, no one's doing anything like that. I don't know. Apparently, they are going to wear a mic now. Well, thanks for the announcement, guys. They will play along now that you give a shit and make us look bad. Classic.
I'm going to bring it back to McCallum for just 1 minute and say he won't be punting. I think they'll keep Leone because he's got an incredible... That's why he lost his job,
Yeah.
because Leone's got an incredible foot for punting. But he misses, I think he's at 67 or 66% or something like that. I'd have to look up the stat, but he's not so great on the convert and on the field goal. But maybe it's because I'm only a few days away from hitting my 40s, but I just like that a man in his 40s is being brought back.
Yeah.
And it's a feel-good story to me. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a
Not
bit of a
those
suck.
young punks in their early 30s. Got some growing
Early
up to
30s, their 20s.
do. So anyways, amazing for a guy. He's had so many ups and downs in his career. He's won some championships, and he's got some fans and he's got some people that like toilet papering his house when he screws up. But
only in Saskatchewan. It wasn't just the toilet paper.
Yeah,
I'm just
it was
trying
the
to
bag that was left on his porch that was a little work.
A delivery? Was it a delivery?
Yeah,
Golden
of a
Palace
sort.
egg rolls. You
Of
can
a
get
sort.
those. Yeah.
Post-consumption.
So I had a blast at NFL International. I saw an NFL game last week in England. I was weird being around a bunch of people that had no idea what was going on. And I ask you guys, I think the CFL game's amazing. Is there anywhere that the CFL could go to grow their game outside of the country? I know it's
Toronto?
a very Canada.
Oh, too soon. Too soon.
I know it's a very. I don't know. I'm just asking the question. Is there any way it could work? I answered for a joke here, said Grey Cup in Vegas. Obviously, people would lay an egg if that happened. But is there any way we could attempt to grow the game in the U.S.? Is there any markets that football's starved? You could have an exhibition there or an all-star game or anything. Just asking the question. I don't see how it could work. I feel like there may be a few very niche markets that are really hungry for football, but most of their appetites would be... satisfied with NCAA and high school football. But I don't know. I think it'd be really cool. I feel like there are football fans that would want to come. And I don't know. Maybe go to a smaller stadium. I'm not sure.
I feel like we tried it.
Yeah.
I mean, we even had a U.S. team
Shreveport.
win the Grey Cup.
Best team ever.
We did it. We tried it. It didn't work. It was a failed experiment. I don't know why we should
Tracy
try that
Jambon
again.
lit it up.
I would rather that we start focusing on getting a team in Eastern Canada, frankly. That's where I would like us to see.
I'll be the doomer. You got to fix it here at home first. It's a sport that may see the next TV contract, but it'll be tight after that. I really believe that. It's a great sport. I love it, but it needs a lot of work here in Canada. So you got to fix the homegrown first. We got to get fans out to games here that are missing.
Do you know when the current contract goes for? Just out of curiosity, are you sure? Or?
It's 2019 with TSN.
I actually don't know.
Close to 2019.
So, I think they're doing quite well.
It's attached to the CBA, so the CBA is up when 2019.
I'd have to look it up. I honestly don't know.
I mean, maybe I'll go back to CBC and we'll have Strombo and Don Cherry doing the play-by-play.
It's about generating money at the end of the day, right? So the money that has to be generated for this league to stay viable here can't come from, and I'm going to air quotes again so we can get a draft in here, but air quotes. The NHL is going to make money through expansion. That's how their owners will make a small fortune over the next few years. It's not going to work in the CFL because that money has to come from here in Canada first. We can put a team out east. If that's the plan, let's do it and get this CFL completely Canadian. And also fix the playoffs format as well at the same time so we can even out these East and West divisions. So
you mean no more crossover?
No more crossover.
No more division? No more two division? Is that what you're thinking?
No, the two divisions can stay there. It's just more of a East versus West, and there's less worry about that crossover. I think I don't. Maybe you keep the crossover to allow for more parity because I think that's what it does. But I leave that up to the experts. I want a team out east to allow this to be a fully Canadian football league. So
I'm with you.
It's my rant.
I can't. I mean, I would love it just because I would love to show the game to some of these people that think it's Bush League, you know. And there's been discussion on social media just today about people that don't really know, and they say, you know what, the players aren't Bush League, the organizations aren't Bush League. There's just this perception, and a lot of that comes from the people who apparently love the game and just drag it through the gutter every chance they can get. And we don't do that, but apparently, a lot of people do, and a lot of people like doing that. So that's too bad. We have a lot of fun, even if we are watching Danny O'Brien pass it to whoever's playing wide receiver, Santino Filoso.
Santino.
Lozo, say again.
Exactly.
Lozo, he's going to snap it to himself and kick it in. Boom, 3 for 1. He's got the right passport too. That'll help that ratio. Early Grey Cup predictions too soon. Everyone's thinking Ottawa, Calgary. I think that's a little scary yet.
I'm not
ready. We got a lot of ball to play.
I'm not ready to make that call.
Big signing. We got Cleon Lang. That's a huge signing.
It is.
He's going to displace Moton, but having that depth is amazing. He was had great years in Toronto. 15 sacks one season, and just came off the Dolphins' practice roster, and it says something about how well they get paid on the practice roster, that he was just playing there until he got cut, right? So those guys do all right there as well.
Big time.
What a
Yeah.
great addition, and Santino's going to talk about that
He
in the
is.
rant.
He is a bit of a, straight up, he's got a reputation. He's been fined numerous times for dirty hits, low hits, clipping. So he comes with a little bit of baggage. I think we all have to be, pretty realistic about that. But the beauty of the signing is we had so many guys go down in the last game against Winnipeg, including Hopkins, that we need somebody who's talented, who knows how to play the game, who knows the format. We needed them quickly, and this worked out. I think it's a brilliant signing.
I like that he's a bit spicy.
He's a bit spicy. I just hope he's not as dirty as he used to be. That's my hope.
And apparently, he'll make some pretty good cash if he's getting paid really well for this one game on Friday.
25.
Something like that.
25K?
And Gary Lawless tweeted out earlier today that if the Redblacks win the Grey Cup, he'd make almost $45,000. So that's not bad for a month in Ottawa, right?
Nice little paycheck.
I mean, it is the city that fun forgot, but for $45K, you can get a
You can find some
Gatineau.
fun. Oh my god.
I don't know how much an Uber to Montreal is, but I'm sure $45K would get you into trouble in Montreal. So, anyways, lastly, not too much on the line this week for Redblacks fans anyway, as far as games go. I mean, I guess BC, they got to win to keep home, so that's something to watch. Any other storylines aside from the dill pickle shot count that you guys are watching this week in the CFL?
Just how frickin' complicated it is to figure out who's the crossover team and who gets the home game in the West. Like I'm no mathematician, and I tried to figure it all out while I was on my way here in my head, and I need a compass and a ruler and a paper to figure
Some
it all
paper
out.
cups
But anyway,
and a big bag of kidney beans. That's how I learned.
if Winnipeg and BC and Edmonton all win this weekend, I'm going to have a brain aneurysm, because then I'm going to have to really try to... Well, actually, I'll just let the TSN guys tell me who's doing what. But
Just watching TSN gives me an aneurysm. Jesus.
I was going to say, I don't know.
some
which
days
is
are better
worse.
than others. Although listening to Dunnigan call games, I don't know if any of you watched his
Just flip
barbecue show, whatever
flip
the hell it was
switch,
called.
man.
Yeah.
Flip
He
the
had
switch,
a
flip
barbecue
the script.
show. Every time I listen to him call a game, I just remember his barbecue show. It's just like watching that on the Food Network. So.
Everything was flip the script or flip the switch. Hey, these lads are going to flip the switch again. I'm like, what's he talking about? I was like, if the drinking game is now, how many times will Matt say flip something? Man.
Might as well just get a dimmer knob and save yourself the trouble, right? Like,
Well, yeah.
that's a lot of wear and tear on that switch, man. Come on, Matt. We're not all juiced up like you, bud.
Yeah.
All right, lastly, over under attendance this Friday. I'm not talking about the Sens game either. I'm hoping
They'll announce a sellout, but it won't. I'm confident that
they
they
have
will
to.
that-
They have to announce a sellout. Fuck, Mark Gowdy will go down and buy every ticket himself if he has to. We know it. It's important, man, that this sellout. But I mean, I think it should be. I just hope the stands are full. And like I said, that yeah,
Get
I
out
mean,
there, Ottawa. Get out there and support the guys on the
It's going to be chilly, but whatever.
Wait
Is
till
it?
the 20th of November.
That's right.
Boy, oh boy, the flasks will be out that night. Let me tell you. I mean, no. I mean, I'll buy all my booze.
hot
up there.
chocolate. Hot
chocolate.
chocolate.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll have to put a couple shots of vodka in every beer we have. That'll warm us up a little bit. So, I was going to do an outro, but whatever. I think we just outroed. So,
Santino, let it ride out.
Santino, yeah, let her rip. Tell us about how awesome our GM is and how many mid-season moves he's done that we approve of. Hopefully, Mike, you get to see the Cubs raise a pennant, man.
It's gonna be amazing.
You get to see that old bird who's been watching the games for since the First World War finally get her wish and see her team win. And
I have a theory. I was in Boston in 2004, the game before they clinched AL East. And that year they won the World Series. And then this year I was in Chicago. So I just think I saw a game both at Wrigley and Comiskey. But afternoon game in Wrigley was the most amazing baseball experience I've had, and I've been to quite a few stadiums.
So I've not watched ball. I've watched ball at Comiskey. I haven't watched ball at Wrigley, but I went to see Bruce Springsteen at Wrigley. I stood in the pit. Bruce Springsteen touched my right hand. Then I got strep throat and didn't go to the hospital because I'm pretty sure Bruce Springsteen
What
gave
the
it
hell
to
did
me.
you do with
But
this hand
all of
after
this-
he touched it?
All of this to say, I'm cheering for the Cubs.
Oh my word! Well, you're loyal to Bruce anyway. So, Bruce, if you're listening, wash your hands next time before a show, bud. Listen, she's your big fan here, man. You know. Anyways, lessons learned. Yeah, don't touch anyone at Comiskey. Actually, I'm sure
Wrigley.
Sorry, maybe he was creeping in the ivy before. You never know, right? Who knows what hides in that ivy? Let's be honest.
Amazing.
Anyways, guys, great to see all you guys again. We'll be back next week. I'm not sure what we'll be talking about. Maybe a little preview. Maybe we'll recap the season. Santino wants a turbo shove it. Maybe we can let him do a shove it rant or something. And anyways, enjoy the games this week. And yeah, life is good.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Welcome to the Red Black Renegade Rant with Santino Filoso.
Looks like GM Marcel Desjardins has done it again, with news breaking this morning of the Red Blacks signing the 6'3", 280-pound Canadian Cleon Lang just in time for the playoffs. Ottawa's management has once again addressed a huge need. Before I touch a bit more on how Lang will impact the team, I want to take a quick second and look back at the other two significant in-season signings the Red Blacks have made in 2016. First, they snagged DB Mitchell White after he was a surprise cut from the Montreal Alouettes. White has gone on to be one of the Red Blacks' better and more consistent DBs in a season where the secondary has been subpar, to put it lightly. Desjardins also scooped up linebacker Taylor Reid just days after he was cut from the Calgary Stampeders. Reid has gone on to flourish in the nation's capital and has brought a much-needed dose of stability and experience to the heart of the Red Blacks defense. Last game alone, he had 12 tackles. Getting back to today's news. After signing with the NFL's Miami Dolphins last offseason, Lang was recently released and sitting on the free agent market. Desjardins deserves a ton of credit for enticing him to come up to Canada just in time for the Red Blacks Grey Cup push. Lang likely had other suitors, but ultimately chose Ottawa, which reflects well on the Red Blacks organization as a whole. Lang is an interior defensive tackle and will likely wind up starting beside Zach Evans and in place of Moten Hopkins. As anyone who has watched the Red Blacks this season can attest, pressure from the defensive line has been sorely lacking. Lang's ability to draw double teams and to collapse the pocket should open up opportunities for guys like Evans, Arnaud Gascon-Nadon, and Ashton Whiteside, not to mention the fact that Lang is Canadian, which provides further depth and flexibility for head coach Rick Campbell's roster. To sum up, while fans love a big name signing, it's easy to overlook the role of the GM in getting a signature down on a contract. In a year where Ottawa's defense has been the weakest part of the team, Marcel Desjardins deserves some serious props for making 3 excellent in-season additions and doing his part to address a need. That's all for this week, guys. Make sure to rant back at Red Blackgade and remember to bleed Red Blacks.
Thank you for stopping by on this week's episode of the Bleed Red Blacks Podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at BleedRedblacks or like us on Facebook at facebook.com/Bleed Red Blacks Podcast.